Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for watching The Chop, where we chop it up with candidates for City Council here in Harlem. My name is Jordan Stockdale of HireHarlem.
And I'm Shana Harmongoff, his co-host. And today we have joining us Keith Taylor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It is a pleasure. And I'm looking forward to discussing the issues with you today.
Thank you. And I want to know from you who you are and where you're from and what made you decide to run for city council.
Sure. My name is Dr. Keith Taylor. For the past 30 years, from caseworker to commissioner, I have been fighting to address the systemic problems facing the Harlem community, such as unifying families. As a caseworker at Harlem Dowling Children's Services, a New York City police officer fighting police corruption, as an internal affairs supervisor, and as a correction department commissioner, reforming the fight against violence behind Rikers walls. So my family came to Harlem in 1905 from Barbados in search of a better life. My grandmother graduated from Wadley High School in 1929. Her uncle was the first Black elected Democratic district leader in Harlem, or the city, for that matter, in 1935. And so I have this family lineage of fighting for the rights of people of color in this community, for better housing, for better jobs. And so that lineage has really weighed heavily on me, because I know that I'm where I am today based on being on their shoulders. So I've expressed my efforts through my community service. I've been on the board of the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone for 6 years, formerly, and been on the community board for 12 years in various leadership capacities, including landmarks and economic development, public safety. I went to school, started Howard, graduated from Howard. As soon as I came out of Howard, I went to Harlem Dowling as a caseworker, then went to City College for my first master's in sociology, went for my doctorate at Columbia in education, and went for my second master's in national security studies at the Naval Postgraduate School and scholarship. The reason for that is that my career was one where I was in public safety for many years. I was in internal affairs for the police department. I was on the SWAT team as a supervisor. At the federal level, I was a planning team manager for New York City's FEMA Urban Search and Rescue team. So my skill set is one of both public safety and also education. I was a founding board treasurer of a charter STEM school in the Bronx, the part of the I Learn network. And I have a lot of different interests. I've been the board chair of the Harlem Independent Living Center, which is a disability rights advocacy organization, for a number of years, and was a founding board chair of Pillars, which is an
Alicia Pullen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I had to curtail some of that when in March of last year, we got hit. I was serving with the State Guard and got mobilized. And for a year, I was working with the National Guard, fighting on Operation COVID-19 to provide relief and services for the people of the city and state of New York. And so I finished with that a few weeks ago. But those are a few of the things. One of, as I said, landmarks is a real passion of mine, and a 10-year-long effort to get a historic district created in Central Harlem to preserve about 250 buildings is about to come to pass. The private first-class Dorrance Brooks Historic District in Central Harlem will be the first one named after an African-American in the history of the city of New York. And that was something that I was proud to shepherd through as in my role as Black Association president. So that is a brief sort of introduction.
I gotta say, I'm impressed with the 2 masters and a doctorate.
I know.
Your education and work experiences are really, powerful and varied. And I actually just got your mailer as well, so I have some
wonderful.
Yeah, I did too.
Oh, great.
And so, based on your work experiences, your education experiences, how do they inform your platform and how you intend to serve Harlem?
In terms of education, I see us at a real opportunity to address the historic and systemic challenges that we face in our community and all communities of color around the failure of the public school systems for our young children, our most valuable asset in terms of our future. And so I see the problems that COVID have really sort of unveiled and made plain in terms of the inequities that exist in education for young people in the city of New York, is really giving us as a society an opportunity to really realize that we have to provide the resources necessary to turn around the pattern of dysfunction for our public school systems. And even though I was a founding board member for a STEM school, charter school, I believe strongly in public education in the traditional sense as well. I believe in both. Everything and anything we can do to make our children successful must be pursued. And instead of having an antagonistic relationship between charter schools versus non-charter schools, we need to really focus on what's at stake, which is the success of our young people. And if we have something that works, we follow it through. And so, the Eagle Academy is an example of, thoughtfulness around how to address the issue of academic success for our young people of color who have a lot of challenges based on economic, historic economic poverty and the systemic discrimination that has created this whole environment.
Thank you so much. So I want to know, let's talk about affordable housing and how can we make sure that our seniors, our mom and fathers stay in their apartments and housing stays affordable.
One of the ways that we can do that is by making sure that funding is provided for successful programs. We know that Section 202 for the federal level provides a way for affordable housing to be successful, as well as having services that are embedded in the house to allow our older persons in our community to age with grace and dignity. They should be allowed to do that. When services are there, present in their living environment, they are able to do that. And then we can have naturally occurring retirement communities, which is what we have for the 20,000+ seniors that live in our community. We have to realize the resource that they are, the treasure that our elderly are, keep them out of poverty, fund the programs that we know are successful, and really make certain that they are not forgotten when it comes to, because right now there is a serious, huge crisis for senior housing. That 202 program I was talking about, there's a 200,000 person wait list in the city of New York out of our 1.2 million seniors that live here. And I think 20% of our seniors are living in poverty. Should not be. So we have to provide the funding. Department for the Aging is 1% of our city budget. We need to up it so that it meets the needs, it meets the demands of our seniors, because that diverse community is growing each year. And so we have to provide the funding to make sure that those things that they need, the home deliveries, the casework, the the long-term medical care, that it's there for them, because one day we'll be there.
Hopefully.
Yes.
And so kind of, you talked about your experiences working in the public safety realm, and wondering if you could talk a bit more about how your platform intends to keep Harlemites safe, particularly in this time where there's some antagonism against, some citizens and the police, and there's a lot of different ideas being explored on what public safety should look like. So just curious to hear your thoughts.
Now, I forgot to mention I'm a adjunct assistant professor at John Jay College, teaching criminology and corrections. And so I'm often asked to discuss issues of police tactics and appropriate, inappropriate police tactics. Very simply, we need a police force that will protect us while it respects us. And that is it. It's a very simple concept. There are certain areas where we can have other entities involved. That has happened in the past. It's nothing new. And we don't have to have police involved in minor incidents. We can have violence interrupters involved to help defuse disputes before they get to the level of a deadly confrontation. But we do need the police, because we have a lot of situations, many situations, that involve criminality. We don't think about crime as a transnational entity, but when we see drugs being dealt with on the street, that's what it is. When we see the guns being used in the street, it's not coming from our communities, it's being poured into our communities and communities like ours across the country. But we tend not to think of crime as a much larger issue, organized crime, which presents itself in our neighborhoods, using our young people who get involved into whatever it is, the criminality is that that can present itself, where we do need law enforcement to deal with that type of criminality. In terms of the pathway of young people getting to it, that's why it's so important that we invest in our young people in programs that are evidence-based to be successful. And the Young Men's Initiative is something that I think is extremely important. I don't want to digress, because when we talk about police, we have an important mandate as a community to make sure that the police serve us, and that they don't abuse their authority when they're dealing with us in situations of great danger, or just in random interactions. And so we do need a police force that looks like us. We do need the hierarchy to be diverse, not just in terms of ethnic group or gender, but in opinions on how we can best address the issues that we deal with. So, having had a history of policing, my granduncle was a police officer. My cousin was a police officer. He was one of the founders of the Guardians Association, which fought discrimination within the department to change it from within. And I was lucky enough to have his shield when I joined, and was proud to carry on that tradition. And because of his groundwork that he laid to make the department more open and more fair, I was able to do some amazing things in my career. And that's what I want for all of young people who strive to want to do something in public service, in public safety especially. They need to have that opportunity, because that job, the police work, is really it's amazingly difficult, but also rewarding when you've saved someone's life, or when you help to make the world better because of what you did. So I certainly, I was in internal affairs for years, certainly don't have any tolerance for police abuse of authority or, leading up to interactions and loss of life. I have no tolerance for that. But I certainly believe that we can um, build within the police department that really reflects and appreciates and values the diversity of the society we live in, whether it's class, race, ethnicity, religion, gender, you name it. There has to be that respect that goes with the protection.
Thank you so much for that. So now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about small businesses because as we know, we're in a pandemic and a lot of our small businesses closed down and we're not able to open back up. So I want to know from you, how do we protect our longstanding mom and pop and small businesses?
Again, this is an opportunity for almost a reset in the way that uh, businesses that are run and owned by people of color in communities of color especially, this is an opportunity to change the way they are supported. Traditionally, access to capital has always been an issue for small businesses, especially that are run by people of color. My parents had a summer resort and a ceramic studio in upstate New York. So I grew up in that environment, and it was supported by Black people, by people of color for 75 years. And so I really have a love and appreciation for the entrepreneurial spirit that is highly appropriate and needed in our community. Not everyone is going to go into civil service. There are those who are going to express their ingenuity and genius in terms of the entrepreneurial spirit. And so we have to support that. How do you support that? You support that through access to capital, which is happening. But it's happening because there's awareness now, and that awareness is due to the disparities that the COVID, the pandemic have made plain. Our businesses don't have the capital, the resilience to survive 6 to 9 months without, because we didn't have that resilience to begin with. With every aspect of life, we are seeing that. That's why we're dying at much higher rates than other communities because of the poor medical care that we have been treated. And this is all systemic, but it can be changed. We now have the mandate, the responsibility to address these systemic issues in a way where they are not simply patched up in a Band-Aid approach and are dealt with in a serious way that shows the seriousness with which it is considered. So access to capital, of course, you have to have a place to have the business, and commercial real estate is something that has been a bit difficult in terms of the cost, and it has been a way that mom and pop stores have been priced out of areas. And so having an area, having a way for a sustainable commercial real estate in our community is important. And to that point, commercial businesses have to deal with the same eviction problems that private individuals in their homes have to deal with. They have to worry about evictions, non-payment of rent. And so there have to be some means with which they are able to get that relief. And because that's happening in some respects at the federal level and probably at the state level as well, because of the most recent budget that has been passed at the federal level, that's going to affect and most likely support efforts to preserve the businesses that still exist. But there has to be a specific effort to address businesses of color. You know, what people like to talk about is the 2% of businesses are African American or people of color. Um, we've had to deal with systemic discrimination, especially in the business marketplace for, I don't know, 1865, Jim Crow, segregation, you know, financial, you know, banks not willing to loan money, access to capital. We've been catching heck as a people and certainly our businesses. So it should not be a surprise that we have not been able to have the numbers that reflect our population in terms of businesses. And you can, I'm sorry, I'm going on and on, but you can take that same argument and look at other areas, other disciplines, and see the small numbers of people of color and realize it was, you know, we're still dealing with the aftermath of legal segregation, discrimination.
And, you know, just before we jump in, we have a fun lightning round we want to jump in. But before we do that, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on, you know, what is Harlem? You know, Harlem has a, you know, a diverse and incredible history, and it captures a special part of, you know, the imagination, particularly of Black people. I'm just curious, you know, when you hear Harlem, what do you think of? What is Harlem?
Harlem, at its essence, is a state of mind. It is in our hearts. It is who we are. It is who we identify as people. It is why people come from all over the world to see us. And so what does that mean? That means in terms of art and culture, music and film, Harlem has a special place of genius, of high level of achievement. You know, when they say you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Well, if you can make it in Harlem, you can make it, you know, throughout the world, because the Black Mecca is harsh on our people, but when they are successful, they have earned it. They have earned it.
Yes.
We are hard on our own, but we have earned it when you are successful. And so, you know, my Harlem, the Harlem that I imagine, is the Harlem of, you know, the last 115 years of growth and culture and nurturing and fighting, of striving to achieve, and also, you know, having the fire and rage of neglect and anger, particularly in the 1960s, 1970s, the death of our leaders and the outrage over that, the push against segregation, official and unofficial, the efforts to strive beyond the limits that have often been placed on us. That's why sometimes when people say, I'm from Harlem, they do it in a way, in a context that says, I survived. I made it out. I was successful, which is beyond the stereotype. But that's not the Harlem I see. I see the Harlem that is full of life and love and Black identity from the diaspora. But there's also serious inequities, and those have to be addressed. All you have to do is go to a local public housing development and see the disparate experience that they have, from the lead paints to the water towers causing the silt in the water, to the mold and mildew and rat infestation and bug infestation. And so that reduced experience is also part of Harlem. And in order to ignore it, you have to choose to do so. And so that's why I'm running, because I know that my background, that my experiences, and that My dedication and commitment to the community is pure. And the only reason I'm running is because I believe I can make this significantly better. As a former city manager, as a emergency manager, as an educator, as a public safety official, as a professor, I can bring the knowledge and skills and ability to that position to make it much more effective, representing our interests as a people.
And so how can people get in contact with you if they wanted to help out with your campaign?
TailoredMadeForHarlem.com.
I gotta say, I like the slogan. I like the slogan. Tailor made for Harlem. That's a good slogan.
It really is.
Thank you. And I've been working on it, and it's been developing. I'm getting my Zoom calendar on there now, so people can just go into my Zoom meetings, ask me questions directly. They want to volunteer. If they want to donate, which is always helpful, they can do so as well. But most importantly, they can find out about my platforms and also about what I've been doing with my life, which has prepared me for this position. This is the first time I've run for any political position, and I'm doing it not because I want another title to have. I'm doing it purely out of love of my community.
All right, that brings us to the lightning round. We're gonna ask some fun, silly, goofy questions, and
Absolutely.
just quick, funny responses, or the truth. First question: what would be your superpower if you could have one?
My superpower would be dogged determination, never giving up. I am the one who will get the rest of us through. That would be my superpower if I had one.
Okay. Walk.
Yeah, it's miraculous. Sorry.
Okay. Walk, bus, train, or taxi.
You know what came to my mind was bike, but
so that's a good one.
I would bike, but train is fine. I am used to taking the train. I like the train. It's literally in front of my house on 135th Street. So yeah, train is definitely the move. And also the bus stop is there too.
Are you an avid biker?
Unfortunately, my bike is getting a little rusty, but yes, I used to bike more. I need to get back into it.
No. All right. Next question: chopped cheese or Philly cheesesteak?
Philly cheesesteak. Come on.
That's what I say. But see, if most people have been saying chopped cheese, and I think Jordan probably say chopped cheese too, but no one really says cheesesteak. And I'm like, I love cheesesteak.
Philly.
Okay. All right. The truth, though. He's speaking his truth,
Okay.
Yes.
So bodega with a cat or bodega without a cat?
Without a cat, thank you.
I like you say speaking
without a cat. You said it so confident, but like, what about the rats? They keep the rats away.
Yeah, and so if I have to go to a bodega where there are rats, I got some issues.
But you won't know if there's cats, because if there's a cat in the bodega, there wouldn't be any rats.
If there's a cat, then any kind of idea I might have that the place is free from rats goes away. Okay. So at least if there's no cat, then I can imagine, whether it's real or not, that there's no rats for the cat to have to be there.
I like it. All right, Bruce Lee or Bruce Leroy?
Bruce Lee, the legend, the original, Bruce Lee.
All right.
And
that might be generational, but hey, I how are you going to top Bruce Lee unless you are not familiar with all of his work? Then I would say that's okay.
And finally, what's your favorite restaurant, soul food restaurant in Harlem?
The Edge, right up on 140 and Edgecombe.
Okay.
It's near my house. I love it. The Julie and her sister Justine Masters do a wonderful job with their British Jamaican mix of food, and the vibe is it's
wonderful.
Really so yeah, the Edge.
What's your favorite meal at the Edge? Because the Edge is by my house, so I go there from time to time as well.
Oh, well, I really like the shrimp and grits.
Mhm,
I like the burgers. I like the 580 drink.
mhm.
You know,
So we
I
see
can.
you're a regular. You're a regular.
I am a supporter. Yes,
Okay.
yes, and that's one of the businesses we have such. I was gone for a year, and to come back and see some of the businesses when I was Echo Dev chair, they would come to the community board for their liquor license, and so I would, we'd run through the mill, but we wanted them to be successful, and to see those businesses closed up is heartbreaking. It's frustrating to see the businesses that UMass helped fund, to see them gone. That is something that has to be addressed. It's not going to be purely at the local level. We need federal help. This is not a normal situation. It requires, you know, almost a depression era type of response to
Absolutely.
get us out of the financial mess that we're in, combined with the public health issue that we're in. And so, again, I'm running. I have these skill sets I've developed over the years. I hope people are able to go to tailormadeforharlem.com. See, I don't boast or brag, but I am ready for the job and I will deliver.
Sounds like the Dapper Dan of City Council, tailor-made for Harlem. We really appreciate you being on the show, and thank you for taking the time and really walking through the issues with us. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.